Hello, everyone. My name is Oleg Kagan, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for LA County Library, and I welcome you to How to Search the Web. That out of the way, let's get on to today's event. This program is supported in whole or in part by the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services under the provision of the Library Services and Technology Act and administered in California by the State Librarian. And our presenter for today is MAKEMO librarian Lawrence Mack. Lawrence is a MAKEMO librarian, and MAKEMO stands for Maker Mobile. Lawrence drives a colorful van all over LA County doing STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math programs for anyone ages essentially 0 through 99 and above. And today, we're here today in cyberspace, bringing you a program about the very important topic of how to search the web. And with that, Lawrence, I turn the stage over to you.
All right, thank you so much for the introduction, Oleg. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. And just let me share my screen and we will be underway. All right. So I'm Lawrence, a librarian, and your guide today to how to search the web. Now, in this program, we'll cover the basics of web searching, including an overview of some popular search engines, some basic searching strategies to enhance your search, along with some additional resources. Again, if you have any questions during the program, please share them with us in the chat. We will attempt to address them all, if not during the program, then at the very end when we have our Q&A session. For more library news, including upcoming programs, resources, and events, you can check out our website at lacountylibrary.org. And we're also on social media using the handle at LA County Library. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more at LA County Library. All right, so here is our course description. Want to go beyond the basic web search? Learn about popular search engines and improve your searching skills with basic searching techniques. All right, so here are the topics that we're going to cover. We're going to take a look at some search engines, some search techniques, and further resources. But before I continue, I wanted to ask you all a question, and you can type your answer in the chat. So whenever you have a need for information, what's the first resource you turn to try and find an answer to your question? I'd like to know. For myself, I usually just take out my smartphone, or if I'm on a computer, I would just go to a search engine, usually like google.com, and just type in the question or do a keyword search. But I'm interested to know what you all do. Let's see. Yep, see Google, google.com, Google. All right, Google. Okay, wow. Google, Safari, okay. Yep, all right, so it looks like most everybody turns to Google as their first resource, as their first search engine. So that's great. We're gonna cover Google, and I'll also introduce some other search engines for y'all to take a look at. And also we'll have some techniques to enhance your search. All right, so now that you all have Google as your answer, but a few decades ago, even around the turn of the century, or around the turn of the millennium, actually, I'd bet a lot of people here would have answered like an encyclopedia or a dictionary, or even go into the local library to look up one of those resources. And, you know, historically, most recorded information would be preserved in books for thousands of years. And in more recent times, as internet usage became more widespread, more and more people turned to computers to access the wealth of information available on the internet. But it would still be nigh impossible to find a specific piece of information on the internet without something to point the way. So if you were just going through websites to try and find something without the use of, say, Google or a search engine, that'd be pretty hard, wouldn't it? You'd need to remember exactly which website had what type of information and type that website into the browser. And for a specific piece of information, if you didn't already know where the site was, it'd be kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. And that's where the search engine comes in. Okay, so internet searching starts with a search engine, which is a software system designed to carry out web searches. And it has become an essential daily tool for many internet users, yours truly included. So when faced with a need for information, many people's first response, such as I saw in the chat with y'all, is to whip out their phone, type their query into a search engine such as Google, and find answers and solutions to simple questions in a matter of seconds. But it's interesting to note that search engines were actually around long before the general public got into the habit of using computers. So the first internet search engine was created in 1982, and it was known as Whois. And it was basically just a simple directory for information associated with internet domains and users. But search engines have come quite a long way since then and cover a far greater amount of information that can be found on the web. So search engines maintain three basic processes. So the first is web crawling. So web crawling is when search engines kind of crawl through the web and thoroughly explores websites and their individual contents and elements. And then once it kind of explores a website, it will then index a site. When that site's information is saved in a database, which is then accessed when a user sends a search query. So search engines are continuously crawling the web and updating their databases, since some web pages are constantly changing with new information. An example of how this process works can be related to a simple query, such as one that I'll bet a lot of you have used: what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? Search engines do have to continuously crawl through and index data from weather sites, since that data is constantly changing and being updated. So a user searching for the upcoming weather would probably like their data to stay relevant. It wouldn't do to miss a report of rain coming and forget to wear a jacket or bring an umbrella for that outdoors excursion. All right, so next brings us to Google and Bing. So if you've lived through the 2000s and the beginning of that .com era and the beginning of widespread technology adoption, you've probably seen a lot of search engines, or maybe used a lot of search engines to come and go. Things like, back in the day, Yahoo, like Ask Jeeves. There was a lot of competition between search engines, but the big winner here is Google. So Google, it's the most visited website in the world and the most used search engine in the world by a large margin. While Google may have expanded its offerings to well-known products such as like Gmail or Google Drive or Maps, its search engine was the original and still is one of its tentpole services, one of its main services. In fact, I want to ask you all a question. Who here hasn't used a Google product or service? I know a lot of you have already commented that you have, but just curious, anybody who hasn't used anything, like hasn't used Google Search, Maps, Google Drive, anything like that? No, I don't see anybody in the chat. So looks like most of us here, or all of us here, have used Google in some way, shape, or form. The fact that you have done that just goes to underline its popularity. Since Google's launch in 1997, it's been the most visited website in the world and the most used search engine in the world by a large, large margin. It handles, on average, more than 3.5 billion searches a day. While there may be some controversy over how Google handles the user data it collects from its products and services, which is a lot, there's no denying that Google Search is a very useful and effective tool in its intended function. While Google is the dominant solution for searching and indexing the web, there are other alternatives, notably search engines from other regions of the world, that may provide more results in other languages. And we'll visit that in the next couple slides. But I also want to touch on the major alternative for search engines for those who haven't hopped onto the Google bandwagon, and that's Microsoft Bing. So Bing was launched as a competitor to Google Search in 2009, and it's now the second most used search engine in the world. And in fact, it even powers fellow search engine Yahoo, which you might recall was once a legitimate search engine power and rival to Google once upon a time. Okay, so I want to show you kind of this chart just to put things in perspective. So this data is from Step Counter, and it presents information that's accurate since September 2022. So as you can see, shows some pretty interesting results. So you can see that Google dominates worldwide search engine usage at a 92% clip. So that is dominance over the web search market. And Bing places second with just over 3%. So you can see its closest competitor doesn't even have 10% of the pie. It's only got measly 3%. Yahoo comes in third. It's still a pretty popular service, especially in some parts of the world, notably like Asia. It's been spun off into distinct services for places like Hong Kong and Japan. And then we get to some of the big foreign search engines, such as Yandex or Baidu. So Yandex is Russia's top search engine, while Baidu is China's top search engine. Now, while they might not be as good at crawling and indexing data from English language sites, from, compared to Google or Bing or even Yahoo, they are an alternative to Google and Bing because they probably offer better results from Cyrillic and Chinese-based sites if a user searches in those languages. So, there's a lot of content. There's a lot of content that, Google might not be as efficient in finding as those two websites. So now I think it's another good time to stop and ask y'all, what is a search engine you use and why do you use it? Besides Google, are there any other search engines that you use or have used, and why would you use it? So I'll start. So I do use Baidu occasionally because it offers a lot of information like news or even recipes in Chinese that Google would have trouble finding. But have you all used any other search engine other than Google? Be interesting to find out.
I've used Yandex once or twice, but it's pretty rare. I usually just search Google in Russian if I need to find something in Russian.
Ooh, I see something in DuckDuckGo. That's good. We're going to cover that in the next slide. So it's good. I see somebody mentioned something called Dogpile. I've never heard of that before.
I haven't heard the Dogpile in a while. I didn't even know it was still around.
And I see yahoofinance.com. Yeah, I think that's a pretty legitimate resource for financial news still. Yahoo. Okay, interesting. All right, so let's move on. All right, so let's move on to privacy-focused search. I want to show you some specialized search engines that might be of some interest. And this is great because somebody answered they used DuckDuckGo before, and we're going to cover that right now. So these search engines are privacy-focused and make a point of protecting user data and anonymizing searches. For those of you who might be wondering why there's a market for these products at all, that demand is in response to the revelation that big tech companies such as Facebook or Amazon, and especially Google, these companies collect huge amounts of user information, including search engine data, in order to sell them to ad companies that will then bombard you with targeted ads. So an example of this phenomenon that you may have already personally experienced would be, let's say on Google search, you started searching for, puppy pictures, you're interested in a puppy. So, and then a short while later, after your search, there are ads appearing to you on Google for dog food or for dog toys or, pet related stuff. And if it happens to you for the first time, it can be quite unnerving to realize that Big Brother, or in this case, Big Tech, is always watching. And that's how these privacy-focused search alternatives are able to gain a foothold in this market with their promise of anonymized searching. Sure, they'll still send you ads, no question, but they won't be the personalized sort that tells you that, big tech is rummaging through your search history and user data. So the first of these search engines is DuckDuckGo. It's a US-based operation that launched in 2008 and will give you search results using Bing's search engine. It's offered as a standalone website for desktop browsers or a browser add-on where you can add it to your Google Chrome or Firefox taskbar. And it seems to be expanding its services as it recently launched a mobile web browser available on Android and iOS phones. So it looks like you can just download the DuckDuckGo app and use that as a primary web browser. And another privacy alternative is Startpage, and that's based in the Netherlands that launched in about 2002. And it gathers its search results from Google, but also like DuckDuckGo, it doesn't collect any search data or personal information. Now, you might have noticed that many of these alternative search engines still retrieve their results from the larger services, such as Google and Bing. But think about these privacy-focused search engines as an additional always-on filter that cancels out attempts from those larger services to collect your data. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so now after I showed you some search engines, we're going to move on to look at some search techniques. All right, and we're going to cover a couple basic techniques, including searching within a site, searching within a page, searching for specific data or facts, filtering your search results, and also Boolean operators. So, some simple search techniques and then some advanced search techniques as well to help you improve your data search. Okay, so first, searching within a site. All right, so in a normal search, entering your search terms into a search field is the way to go. Like say, if you're searching for, let's say, inflation, that's a big thing, right? So on a Google search, you would just type inflation, press enter, and you'll see everything related to that keyword. It returns search terms from a variety of websites. Now, however, site search, that returns results matching the search terms from only the specified site. All right, so you can see an example of some of the syntax there. So to do a site search, you would type in site : and then you would type in the URL. And then after that, you would type in the search terms you would like to look at for that site. All right, so for example, here, I'm searching, I only want to search CNN.com. I only want some news from this site about inflation, which is, a pretty popular topic recently. So to do that, I'll show you the results from both searches. On the left-hand search, all right, here, it's a normal Google search for inflation in the United States, all right, inflation US. And once I hit enter there, it shows that there are more than 686 million results. All right, so what you've got here, you've got the top stories, and they're all from different sites, CNN, Reuters, CNBC, Fox, all right, and there's a lot of results. However, if I use this site-specific search, right, I type in site CNN.com, inflation US, you'll notice that there's only 101,000 results, drastically fewer than 686 million. And as you can see, all of the results are from CNN.com. So that's a way to limit your search to a specific site by using this specific search syntax here. All right, next we've got searching within a page. So sometimes you want to search for terms within a single web page or article, especially for pages with lots and lots of text. So the find function, you'll use that to search for terms within a single page. And it's slightly different for users of Windows or Mac OS. For Windows users, on any web page, you'll hit Control F, and that will open up a small text box that you can use to search. Now, the same thing happens, but you need to hit Command F for Mac users. This is really useful to find relevant sections immediately in a long web page or article. All right, so for example, here's the Wikipedia page on travel, right? It's got a lot of stuff in it, but I want to look for mention of safety while traveling. All right, so on a Windows, I would hit Control F, and on a Mac, I would hit Command F, but it would bring up something similar right here, this text box, and then I just type in safety in it, and it will then search this web page for any mention of the term safety. And as you can see, there are 9 total terms, and you can use these arrow buttons on the side to kind of scroll through each of the terms. So you can quickly search a page for all relevant terms. And as you can see, this is on Google Chrome. It will also highlight all of the instances of the phrase or the term or the phrase being searched as well. So if you have like a really long article, you just want to find the relevant parts dealing with the keywords, you can search for that keyword and immediately jump to the parts that actually mention it. All right, next, searching for basic data and facts. So a couple of years ago, on a lot of the major search engines, especially Google and Bing, they introduced this really cool feature where if you wanted answers to some kind of or if you asked them a question, it would attempt to kind of pull the relevant information from its search features and display it in a clear-cut format right at the beginning of your search results. So this works really well for units of measurement and conversion. So for example, if you're asking how many meters is 3 feet, just type that into Google search, as you can see on this screenshot, hit enter, and it will have this conversion chart that shows you the exact conversion from feet to meters, but you can also play around with it and change it to, whatever length of measurement there is. So very useful there. And then also for specific events or statistics, whether it's like weather, if you want to look for the weather, you type in weather Los Angeles, and it'll show you the weather reports for the next week or so. And you can also fiddle around with this bar right here, and it'll tell you exactly what the measurements are for that particular time of day. And you can change it to, precipitation chances or wind speed, change it to a lot of different toggles there. And also for things such as box scores for sports. If you wanted to find out the score from that World Cup match a couple days ago, you would type it in, the two nations and the date. It'd probably tell you exactly what happened, along with information on the lineups and the timeline of events. All right, next up, we get to filtering search results. All right, so filtering tools, which are built in to many of these search engines, can help you narrow down your search results. So some normal filter options can include like the time range, the news. You can sort it by like the news, whether it's like books or videos or even shopping. So here's here's an example. So here I do a search for New York travel. All right. And so from here, you can limit it. Default is all, so it'll just show all the results, but you can limit it by the news, by the images of New York travel, or if you just want videos on New York travel, or maybe you're looking for tickets on New York travel, you can limit it to shopping. So there's a lot of different tabs you can click on to limit your search to the relevant category. And you can also limit the search results by time. So if you want just the relevant results, you can limit it by the past hour, day, week, month, or the year, or you can enter a custom range that lets you kind of see New York travel results. Let's say you wanted to see it for 2005 to 2010, you can do that and view only results from that time period. All right. So now we're going to get into Boolean operators. So Boolean logic is a set of operators or gates that can help limit or expand the search. So the operators, the most common ones are the words and, or, and not. Now a search set up to go through these gates in a specific order can retrieve specific results. And I'll explain what these three terms do if you use them in your search. All right, so first, and will narrow a search. So let's say you're looking for results. Let's say you're looking for food, pictures of food, and you want burgers and fries. If you're doing a search for those two terms, it'll limit the search for pictures to only those with burgers and fries. So you can tell by the food analogies that it's getting kind of close to lunchtime. So bear with me here. Sorry if I'm making you hungry as well. All right, so or broadens the search. All right, so let's say you're looking for burgers or fries. It'll include all the results that include burgers or fries or both. So that helps expand your search. Now, not will omit certain words from a search. Now, most search engines will use the minus sign in place of not. But if you search for, let's say, burgers, not fries, then it'll return all results with burgers, but nothing with fries mentioned. And I'll show you a visual diagram of how this works if it sounds a little confusing at first. All right, so here, go got a handy dandy diagram of how these searches work. All right, so the first one up in the top here. So let's say you're just looking for pets. So pets is an all-encompassing term that will include dogs, cats, birds, fish, mongooses, rats, any kind of animal that can be used as that people keep as pets. All right, so that returns a lot of results. Now, what if you just want all pets, but you don't want anything with cats? Let's say you're allergic to cats, so you don't want any results with cats. So then you would have pets minus cats, or in terms of Boolean terms, your pets not cats. So what that does, all of your results will include everything else: dogs, birds, fish, mongoose, rats, etc. But it will exclude any search results that have to do with cats. All right. So let's look at and in action. So you want to search for dogs and cats. So what this does, it limits your search by a significant amount. So as you can see, you've got all the search results for dogs and all the search results for cats. But dogs and cats will only take the search results that mention both dogs and cats, and it will only return this subset of results. Now, if you want to expand your search, this is where you go dogs or cats. So let's say you're animal agnostic. You're okay with any kind of furry pet companion. All right, it just has to woof or meow or anything like that. You don't mind. All right, so you search for dogs or cats. It will give you results from dogs, results from cats, and also results from dogs and cats. So, this will get you a lot more than dogs or cats will get you a lot more search results than dogs and cats. All right, so to find out more about all the topics that I just covered in this presentation, the library does have a lot of helpful resources. So we have ebooks and more in our catalog, but we also have a lot of information in our online learning courses as well, especially LinkedIn Learning and Gale courses. And as you can see here, it's a screenshot of some of the courses available through LinkedIn Learning. You'll see online searching tips and tricks, perform a web search. So there's a lot of content there if you want to learn more about what was mentioned here and beyond. And of course, there's more programming as well in our digital literacy series and also beyond that deal with topics such as these. So you can find all these resources at lacountylibrary.org/learn. And also, I wanted to give you all some further resources as well. And not to worry, this presentation will be sent to you guys in an email after the program. But there's some pretty good resources that I wanted to share. The first is Google's Search the Web on Chrome. So that's an article from Google, gives you some tips and tricks on how to use Chrome to search the web. It'll cover some of the things that are mentioned in this program, but there are also more. Next, we've got the DuckDuckGo Search Syntax Guide. So that provides a bit of help on how to use search syntax to help refine your search and make it more efficient. And also, for a further understanding on Boolean operators, I've included the MIT Boolean Operators Guide link there. So it's a LibGuide from MIT that helps further explain what Boolean operators are and what they do. And if you have any questions at all about this program that maybe you think of later, or if you have questions about anything at all, please feel free to speak to a librarian. You can do that through a phone, text, email, or Instant Librarian, or you can come to any of our locations to the reference desk and speak with a librarian in person. We'd be happy to help you with all of your information needs. And that's our program for today. Thank you so much for attending How to Search the Web. And now it's the Q&A. We'd be happy to answer any related questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence. A good introduction and slightly more than an introduction to search. So right now we just have one question. If anybody does have questions about anything in the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat at the moment. And while we wait for that, can you repeat the example of searching for safety? I think it was a Control F.
Yes. Okay. Let me share.
While you're bringing up the screen, we had another question. Where can we review the recording or the link? So this presentation is being recorded, and you'll get a link to the YouTube channel where the recording is going to be early next week. So everybody who's registered for this program and is attending here is going to get a follow-up email from me, and that'll have the link to that recording to review.
Okay, so for the question where you wanted a recap on searching, all right, so on any web page at all, anything that has searchable text, you can open the find function with Control F for Windows users and Command F for Mac OS users. And here's the screenshot. So if you were on a Wikipedia page for travel, all right, and you wanted to search for, let's say, safety, I would do Control F, and this little text box would pop up. And then I would just type in my term, which is safety here, and hit enter. And then it will immediately jump to the first instance of the term safety. And using the little arrows, the little up and down arrows on the side here, you can scroll through all of the occurrences of this term on the web page. And that's how you use search.
Perfect. Yeah, for Control F, yeah, or Command, you just hold down the Control button and tap F, and then it'll come up on usually on the top right-hand side. Very convenient. I use that all the time, and not just in the web browsers. I also use it for like in Microsoft Word or other places on the computer. Control F is a pretty regular keyboard shortcut, so that's really nice of you to bring it up because it's a lifesaver if you're searching for something in a large document. Will we be able to print the info to keep? Yes, of course. So we're going to send out the video recording. So you don't want to print out the video recording because that would be a lot of frames. But we also are going to send you out the PowerPoint. So we're going to send you out the slides as a PDF, which means it's going to come as a file that it's really, really easy to print. So yeah, absolutely print it, share it with people. You know, we're happy to get this information out there. Any other questions? And we're happy to answer those for you. While we wait for questions, I do want to encourage you to fill out our post-event survey. It's a very short survey, and you can share your feedback with us, positive, negative. We're welcoming to all feedback. And if there are topics you want us to cover in the future, go ahead and input those also, because we look at those. I mean, we can't use every topic suggested, but we try to use the topics when it comes to selecting future presentations, and not just presentations, but what we include in the presentation, because sometimes a suggestion isn't one that we can make a whole program about, but will, for example, cover internet browser settings more in depth in the Browser Basics program, because people have asked us about that. So I just posted a link to the survey, and also when you exit the Zoom, the survey should just come up automatically. So it's up to you whether you want to fill it out now by clicking the link or fill it out later. We just got another question in the Q&A. How would you search for viral ant bait without getting a ton of useless products? That's a really specific one. Lawrence, do you want to search for viral ant bait? I feel like that's the kind of search where you're going to get some really specific results, because it's not like it's not a topic that has a lot of sort of linguistic randomness around it.
Yeah. All right. So let me pull up a browser and we'll do a search for viral ant bait.
I wonder, is that bait that will give ants viruses they'll pass on to their ant friends and will eradicate the whole, is it a hive?
I would assume so.
Yeah, the ant hive.
Okay. Let me share my screen and we will do that search. All right, so let's do a search, viral ant bait.
Yeah, let's see what comes up. See if we get a lot of, okay, so that's pretty liquid ant bait. It might not be viral. Bait most effective. Okay, so we get something in a fact check. So that's not a specific product. Oh, there's an article from PubMed. Huh, that looks like.
Hmm.
So, it's interesting because these first results, at least, they're not even products. They're just information about either ant bait or fire ants.
Yeah, viral TikTok shows a genius 2-ingredient solution.
But that link is to Pinterest, so
I know.
it's the ant bait trap. So there's some videos there. Ant bait satisfaction. It's another TikTok. I wonder if you put quotes around viral ant bait, how will that change the results? Because you do get the products up on up through the advertising. Oh, more
Yeah.
TikTok. Wow,
Yeah.
how interesting. Maybe there's another name for that kind of bait. It's not called viral ant bait. There's another name for it, but it's an interesting search. It's a good example because people search for all kinds of interesting things. So, oh, things to know. Look on the right-hand side. That's an interesting knowledge graph there, or the result of the knowledge graph. Things to know: where to find ant traps, instructions for ant traps purpose.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think maybe looking for ant trap that will have a lot more products and a lot more information.
yeah. Scroll down a little bit more. I want to see some more of those results. See, the first one is an actual product,
Mhm.
and then there people also ask. Keep going. Yeah, there's more advertising here. So in sometimes we hate advertising. We hate advertisements, but in this kind of situation, we might actually be okay with the advertisements because it's exactly what we're looking for. And
Mhm.
you can click through the different advertisements and see if that specific product might be good for you. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
people combat ants in many different ways. It's just a combat. I'm like, fight the ants. They're little, but there's a lot of them. All right, let's see about another question. We had a question about clearing cookies, which is not specifically relevant to this program, but the way to clear cookies is you go to the settings in your browser. So usually on the top right-hand side with the 3 little lines, click that and click settings. And then there's usually a search bar on top of the settings, click cookies, and you'll get the setting to clear the cookies. That's the kind of a simple explanation. I said it pretty fast, but settings are the settings on the top right-hand side, click settings, search for cookies, and you'll get some cookie options. Interestingly, I have a cookie on my desk in front of me, and it's not a computer cookie.
It's the yummy kind.
Yeah. All right, let's see. When using Google as a search engine, is there a way to limit them from collecting your private info?
Hmm. Well, there is the way if you use a computer where you haven't made an account and where you're going to wipe the computer afterwards, then it wouldn't make any. Then they wouldn't be collecting your private info if you're careful
So
how you search.
it's an interesting question because we have to consider what kind of information does Google collect. So, like you said, if you're not logged in, then they know sort of a limited amount, and they don't know that it's about you specifically. They know, for example, where your IP address, where you're searching from, so what computer you're searching from. They know what your web browser. They know, your general location. And that isn't necessarily tied to you because you're not logged in, you don't have an account, and they know what you're searching for. But see, the thing is that any website can know what browser you're using. When you go to it, the browser, it tells there's a way that the browser will tell the website, the server, what browser. So that's not private information. When you're going to a website, like even if websites will adjust the way a website looks based on whether you're using a phone, whether you're using a PC or computer. So that's not really private. I would say that if you're not logged into a Google account, then it won't it won't tie that search to you. But you can also limit what Google stores about you in their settings. They have privacy settings, and you can make it stop saving, your search information, your location information, all that kind of stuff. So even within Google, if you have an account, there are ways that you can make it stop collecting that stuff.
I also want to mention that there are like the privacy-based solutions like DuckDuckGo or StartPage. They'll limit the amount of private info that websites and that websites can collect about you. And also, if you use that in conjunction with a privacy-based browser, that can further set up some barriers that will limit the amount of private information going out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Question, because we were doing that search for the viral, and then somebody during that search, somebody asked, how do you know that it is TikTok? So I think the way we know is that we saw the name of the website and it said TikTok. So that's one way. The other way is we could look at the web address, and the link may have been to TikTok. Or if it's like a video link, sometimes they're the different size and they usually have a little time on it. If it's a vertical link, I mean, if the video is vertical and it has a certain look, then you can tell that it's probably from TikTok. So those are the main ways. But that specific one with the 2-ingredient solution, it said TikTok. So that's how we knew. We're not magical. We just try to use the clues that are given to us. We don't know any more than most people, especially when it comes to TikTok. I don't know. I don't use TikTok, Lawrence. I don't know if you do.
I don't really use it as well. So yeah, not my area of expertise.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. When searching, how do you limit the results? I have tried putting my search results in quotation mark, but that doesn't seem to limit the results. So this person arrived to the program a little bit late. So I think probably the best thing for this person to do would be to view the video afterward. And because you covered number one, the quotation marks, which is a great way to limit the search. That limits the search to only what's within those quotation marks. It'll search for exactly that phrase. Another way is Boolean operators, which is a little bit of more of an involved conversation. So that one's probably best to look at afterward. But there's a few other ways you can limit your search using the cite operator. Yeah, there's quite a few. So that's kind of the whole program. But the good thing is that there's a lot to learn about it, and there's many ways to limit search results for better searching. Okay, it's the holidays, buying gifts online, using incognito private browsers to use retailers. They ask about cookies, very wordy ask about cookies. In the end, if you don't pick the right options, they won't let you shop. Any suggestions?
Okay, so I can kind of provide a little bit of guidance on that. So because of like recent, privacy laws, one way that these websites are getting around, to asking you for your personal information is to get you to allow all of the cookies, which will let them kind of so that'll let them know more about you. And a lot of these websites won't work if you just deny all cookies. So there's usually an option that says, only allow like the important cookies for this website to function. And that's the option you want to keep going on these websites. I don't know if you have like a clearer take on that, Oleg, but that's been my experience.
Yeah, I mean, cookies are required for certain things that you do online. And there's not really, If you're just using a reputable retailer, then allowing those cookies will be unlikely to be detrimental to you. So what they are mostly used for is keeping you logged in, for instance, or making your shopping cart persistent. So if you have a shopping cart on the website, if you go from page to page, you don't want the cart to disappear. You want that cart to exist, and for the retailer that you're browsing to know that it's you, so that you don't, it's like you go to the grocery store and you carry your cart with you the whole time. But if somebody else was helping you in carrying your cart, you wouldn't want them to leave you at every aisle. They would have to be tied to you. So that's what the cookie does. It ties your computer to that specific shopping experience or that session. So I would say that if you're going to be, doing online shopping, you can allow cookies and then just clear your cookies in the browser. Or if you want to do what I do, is just have your browser set to delete your cookies every time you exit the browser. And that means that you're not going to have to worry about it. You might get the same ad if you go to a different retailer, but if you're already doing online shopping, I don't feel like that's the worst thing that can happen. And it's really not too much risk in terms of privacy. But as soon as you as soon as you exit your browser, those cookies will be gone and you'll start fresh next time. All right. I've seen examples of plus signs before words in searches. How are they used?
So plus signs are just kind of like and usually for Boolean operators.
So
right?
I think there's two. So it's and if you put it in between words. But what I've also seen, and I don't know if this is common with popular search engines. I've never seen this in Google instructions. I know this was more common in older searches, or like when you search databases, like academic databases. A plus sign in front of a word is usually similar to using quotation marks around that word. So if there's a plus sign, that means it's the opposite of the minus sign, if minus sign, you don't use that word at all. A plus sign means that it has to have this, the results have to have that word. So I don't know if that actually works in Google. I mean, I've never used it, and I've never seen it used in Google, but for that, you just have quotation marks to do the same thing. All right, next question. Is there a way to search for a video that blocks anything on YouTube? Sometimes when I search using DuckDuckGo, it allows me to bring up video without going through YouTube, but other times I don't get that option. I think if you put minus YouTube, that might help, but then it'll search for YouTube within those results. It may be possible for you using advanced search to exclude a specific website. I mean, if you only want to search YouTube, I mean, YouTube has a search engine, but if you want to use a different search engine to search YouTube, you can do that also by just doing site:/youtube.com. I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if I can exclude YouTube searches. Are you giving it a shot, Lawrence?
Yeah, so I'll show you my results.
Okay.
So since we're looking for popular movies, I just did this real quick for for the superhero movie that just came out. Now, if I just use the minus sign, minus YouTube, you'll see that the first result here is still from YouTube. All right, but if you go to the videos tab, you'll see that all of these videos are not from YouTube. You got some from IMDb or IGN, Facebook. So it looks like it works some of the time, not all of the time.
Try to search ant bait.
Ant bait.
That's like our mascot search for today.
All
Says
right.
Facebook,
Hey,
today's homeowner. Interesting.
not bad.
So
Yeah.
some of these aren't even videos though. Spill. I wonder if those Facebook results are actually embedded YouTube videos, but we'd have to click on them to see.
All right, let's
How
try.
long does it take to kill ants with Taro liquid ant bait?
No, it's on a Facebook watch.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess that is a way to do it. I'm getting a little comfortable with all these ant bait things. Ants are my friends. I say, but my house isn't infested with them, so
Yep. Might be a different story when they're all over your kitchen.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so yeah, so minus YouTube. Using Google Chrome as a default browser on PC smartphone, how would you incorporate DuckDuckGo in Google Chrome for search engine?
Oh, well, so you could, in Google Chrome, you could go to the DuckDuckGo website to do that search. But if you're on a smartphone, DuckDuckGo has their own browser app that you can download. So you can also do that to just bypass Google Chrome entirely for searches.
And if you go to the settings in your, so if you're on a computer and you go to the settings, you can select which search engine Google uses, Chrome uses by default. So usually, you can type in your search right in the address bar, and it'll search Google by default. But Chrome is made by Google, so that was the default search engine. But you can change it to anything you want, or at least a subset of, I think, 5 or 6 search engines, including DuckDuckGo. So if you go to the settings and you search search engines, it'll give you an option of DuckDuckGo is one of them. And I think I don't know if you can do that in the same way on mobile, but you might be able to. I don't know. I use DuckDuckGo as my browser on my phone. Actually, it's between that and Brave these days. Brave has started to take my loyalty a little bit from DuckDuckGo. It's because of that thing you mentioned before, Lawrence, that it doesn't show you ads on YouTube. I like that. Ads on YouTube have become kind of annoying. So if you use the Brave browser, both on the computer and on the phone, it'll block the YouTube ads.
Very useful.
How do you get rid of
Shoot.
shoes that continue to follow you around even after you clear your browsing HX and cookies? Oh, I see. I see. I was like, wait a second. This is a program about how to search. What are we talking about shoes? But I get it. There are shoe ads that follow this person around. And we have all experienced this around even after you clear your browser and cookies. Well, it might not be based on cookies. I mean, it may be profiling your search in a different way. We all get ads, certain types of ads pop up. The kind of ads they are might be random, might not be random. If you're, for instance, logged into a Google account, then Google will tailor all its ads. So Google serves ads to many, many websites. If you're logged into your Google account, then all those ads that Google is serving you on various websites will be tailored to you based on the profile it has through your account. You can, I believe, turn that off. You have to go in the Google settings. I don't remember offhand how to do it, but it might be possible. But that would be one way. If you're logged into some site and it's basically, yeah, that company like Facebook serves ads all over the place. Google serves ads all over the place. So that would probably be the way that's happening. When I signed on this webinar, it asked if I would allow cookies. I used my standard response, no to targeted cookies, yes to everything else. Good. That's what I do too. Every website, I say only necessary cookies. We have another question about how do you delete cookies? You go to the settings in your browser and you search for, it's usually they're in privacy and security, but you can just search for cookies within the settings and it'll come up and it'll give you a clear option that you can to delete the cookies. So it'll give you a clear option for your browser to eat the cookies. Any suggestions on preventing political parties from getting your info in any search engine? Seems like they find you no matter what engine. They find you in different ways. The political parties have they've been doing this sort of thing for years. They have very sophisticated databases of individuals and certain profiles of people that may not be specific to you, but if they use voter rolls from the past, I mean that's information that anybody can request. So if you voted in the past, they can get that, registered voters. So it may not actually be coming from a search engine. The information landscape, the information kind of ecosystem is vast. And search engines, like if you search Google, that really isn't typically where places like political parties find your information. They don't, they're not buying your searches from Google, because I don't think Google actually sells what individuals are searching. So I think the unfortunate thing is that it's just a fact of like the political parties will get your information. The way to stop political flyers from coming, around election time, we all get a ton of mail. Political mail. The way to stop that is to vote early, because once you voted, those things tend to stop because there's no longer a reason to be courting you because you've already put in your vote. I saved some YouTube, then I can't open it. How can I save it to watch it later? If the video is still up, you click a little share link on the YouTube website. It'll give you a short link. Save that link and you should be able to go back to your YouTube videos. You can also, if you want to save it within YouTube, if you have a YouTube account, then you can do save to watch later, and you have to just go to your watch later list. On a PC, it's usually on the left-hand side. There's a little bar, and it says watch later there. And if you save things to your watch later list, then you'll be able to find them there.
And also, if you forgot where it is, you can also look in your view history on YouTube. If you've already clicked on that video, it'll show up, even if you only played a couple seconds. Or you can also look in your browser's history as well, because that will show you every page that you ever visited up to a certain point. So 2 other options for finding past websites.
Thanks, Lawrence. Why does search results sometimes ask you to allow your location?
Oh, well, so that's because some services, they work better if they know your location. Like, for example, search results might want to know your location because what you're searching for, like a product or something, then they can give you that product's availability and pricing from the stores in that location.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
If you're searching for an exterminator, for example, if you've got an ant problem, and you search for exterminator, Los Angeles, it might ask you for your location so it can narrow down the list of exterminators it serves you. By serves, I mean the list of exterminators it gives you, to be more relevant to you. Also, there's some sort of, like you said, Lawrence, there's some services like Google Maps. Like if you're going to be using Google Maps, it might ask you for your location. It might approximately know already because you're accessing the web using an internet service provider. And so Google is able to kind of triangulate where you're searching from, but it might be like wherever the node is. So when I searched for North Hollywood, then sometimes there's I think the spectrum or whatever it is it says my location in Semi Valley, which is a ways away, so it's not very useful. But that's automatic. If I allow it to know my location more specifically, then it gives me searches that are closer. But instead of doing, I mean, you could also deny the location and just put in your zip code when you're in the search. So if you search for exterminator, my zip code is 91020. So exterminator 91020. Then it'll find exterminators around La Crescenta, Montrose. All right. Can you do a separate cookies presentation? I do not understand what it is, and I'm concerned about clearing my cookies. Actually, you'll be happy to know that we've talked about cookies at other presentations. I'm going to make a note to myself to include a link to one of those presentations, or at least even the place I'll try to find the place in the video of a previous presentation where we've talked in depth about cookies. Cookies are a fun topic. A lot of people are curious about them. They're interesting. I mean, they do useful things for us, and they also do useful things for advertisers. So all of those things and more will be in that link. I think we talked about it maybe in browser basics. I don't know. There's been a few times where where we've talked about cookies more or less in depth. But I will say, you don't really need to be concerned about cookies all that much. Cookies don't really harm you. They don't harm your computer. It's not like getting a virus. Cookies are not going to break anything on your computer. They're simply used within a web browser to do a variety of things. Cookies are bits of information. Bits is not a precise term, but they're basically keys and values. So a key is like country, value would be like United States. So there are sets of keys and values that are stored that websites will store on your computer in order to do a variety of things, like keep you logged into a website or track you across different websites. Those are just two examples, but there are many things cookies can do that are really innocuous, that are really just part of the internet right now. And then there are some that are a little bit more creepy and annoying, but not dangerous. What is incognito mode?
Okay, so incognito. So incognito mode is just, it's a mode on certain browsers that won't save your browsing history for that session. And it won't save any cookies from that session either. So it's good to use if you're on like a public computer or on a shared device. Sometimes you want to use that to prevent, others from being able to potentially, steal your personal information.
Okay. So we don't have any more questions. If you do have a question, now is the time to put it in. Or if you think about it between now and early next week, you can also send it to us you can just respond to the follow-up email, and we'll be happy to do some research if we need to answer your questions. And we hope to see you next week at how to avoid online scams, and an important topic, just like searching the web, one where you could use it to keep yourself safe. So if you're afraid of scams online and you're not sure how to recognize them, next week's program is the one for you. Once again, thank you very much, Lawrence, for this insightful presentation. Thank you all out there for sticking with us and asking your wonderful questions. And good afternoon. We'll see you next week.